Hey guys, welcome to the Something About Tuesdays podcast. I'm your host, Phebe Joi. Join me every other Tuesday for a lighthearted podcast to keep you company while you do your thing. Hey guys, welcome back to Something About Tuesdays, episode 57. I'm your host, Phebe Joi, and hi! Hey and welcome! Welcome everybody! I hope you've had a great last couple of weeks. I'd have to say, I feel like mine have been pretty good. Outside of course, the regular allergies that like to pop out. It's been good weather. It's still been rainy. Y'all, it's May. I was like, where's my Mayflowers? But it's just been just as rainy as I'll get out. But we've had warmer weather, so that helps the rain not be too bad. And yes, like I said, my allergies are still kind of bothering me and being a mess. It's that time where I don't know if it's allergies or a sinus infection or a sickness. I don't know, because my nose has been running nonstop. I've been coughing. The last week or so, my voice has been like shot. You know, when you have kind of like a little rough voice like this. That's kind of been my voice for the last couple of weeks. It's just now starting to get better. It's not fully done. I'm not back to 100%, maybe not even 90%, but probably like a good between 70 and 80, I would say. It still gets tired pretty quick and all of that, but it's been a good last couple of weeks. I will say this. One thing I noticed is that you've been blowing your nose a lot when you are a Black person whose nose has turned red from blowing her nose. I was looking in the mirror and I was like, oh my goodness, my nose is red. That's how you know you've been blowing your nose a lot. And the kids, man, they've been blowing their nose. We've been doing testing this week, which I'm going to talk more about later. And I've been doing some one-on-one accommodations. And one little guy, he missed one day. We were doing makeups and he was just a coughing and a sneezing all over the computer and me and my arm. And I was like, oh no, if I was not sick, I'm going to get sick. But like I said, overall, the last couple of weeks have been pretty good. And let me throw out there, happy Mother's Day. This is coming out the Tuesday after Mother's Day, so hopefully you had a great Sunday, a great day celebrating your mom or being celebrated. I'd like to think I had a good Mother's Day. I don't know yet because this is the Saturday before. I've had a good week leading up to Mother's Day, and so if that's any indication of how Mother's Day will go, I'm sure it will be a good one for me. And so, happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers and all of that out there. So I've been thinking about the weather, right? And how the weather can make you feel good, right? And confident and happy and hopeful, as it starts to get brighter and you're getting more energy and you're like the sun and it's setting later. And so I've had some confident days, okay? Where I'm just feeling good, feeling confident, feeling like, okay, I know what's going on. This is good, having a good day. And I'll tell you what, with confidence sometimes, you got to be careful because there are moments that will humble you. So I got to tell y'all about a few of them. All right, well, the first thing, this is not a humbling moment, but this was one moment that brought me confidence. And that was, so you guys know, if you've been listening since January, that one of my goals for the year, and actually has been for a little while, is to smell good. Like I want to be someone who smells good. And so that's kind of been a goal. Like I want to do better, like wearing perfume and just being more proactive in how I smell and all of that stuff. And so I would like to say that I got a compliment out in the wild. And what I mean by out in the wild is not around my normal friends or family, but out there just from a stranger. And it came from the most unique of places. I had actually gone to Indies. This was a Friday night after youth rally. No, after revival. Our church has been in revival in the last couple of weeks, and it will continue for the next month or so. So shout out to the church. But anyway, so we were in revival. And so that Friday night afterward, Hubs and I often go to Indies after like a Wednesday night service or, if we're out on Friday. And so we were like, let's do some Indies. We're hungry. We want some fried chicken. So I went to Indies to get some chicken. And while I was in the drive-thru, I pulled up to the window and the guy says, who's at the window, you smell nice. Or he said something about, you smell good. You about to head somewhere? And I was like, no. I said, well, thank you. I was like, but I'm actually coming from church. And he was like, oh, okay. I didn't mean it to be disrespectful or nothing. I was like, no, I didn't take it that way. I appreciate it. And he was like, are you coming from revival? I was like, yes. I didn't say anything about revival. And yet he knew. I was like, that's right. So I did get that compliment. I was very excited about that. I was like, yeah, I must have smelled good. I don't know how I smelled good after revival, because if you know anything about revival, you know you sweated up a storm if you did it right. And I did. So, but somehow my scent still came across nicely. So that made me feel a little confident. But I have to tell you, I have to share 2 more stories of confidence that did not end quite the same way. Okay. So the first story is I was heading to Starbucks. I was out and about before school, and I was like, okay, I need to go to Starbucks, and I want to go to Starbucks and get me something to drink. Now, if you know anything about Starbucks, like if you have the Starbucks app, then they have like, usually when I go to Starbucks, it's because someone has given me a gift card, and that's where I'll go. If I have to use my own money, for the most part, I will go to like 7 Brew or something, just because it's a little cheaper. But I like Starbucks too. Like sometimes I'll spend my money on Starbucks too. It's just Starbucks gift cards are more frequent, and I usually get those, and so that's that's what I enjoy. So I'll treat myself to some Starbucks. But as you start to use your gift card on the app, you can't split payments. So you either pay completely with your gift card or you have to pay with something else. But it will let you reload money, on your gift card or what have you from any type of payment. And so I reloaded money on there and I used it, but now I was down to like $6 or $8 or something, which would just cover like a drink. Now, normally I get a drink and a sandwich, just kind of some type of breakfast sandwich before work. Not every day or anything by any means, but if I do go to Starbucks, then I'll get me something to drink and a sandwich. But this time I decided to just get the drink. So I go into the Starbucks, and this Starbucks is one of those kind of nice, not nice Starbucks, but there's people there who kind of look businessy, like it's the guys in there, not in a suit per se, but in like their khakis and their button downs, and they're just, doing their thing, whatever it is that they do at a Starbucks in the morning that somehow doesn't require them to be at work. And there was different people there. And so I go in feeling good, and I'm smiling at people, making eye contact. When you're, those confident days, you make more eye contact with people and they smile at you and you smile back, which kind of like it feeds into your confidence, right? And it's like a cycle or some type of circular thing. So if you're having a rough day and you need to feel confident, practice still looking in people's eyes and smiling, and maybe they'll give you a smile back that'll give you the little boost that you need. But I was there and I was like, okay, smiling at people, waiting on my drink. I guess I'd got there before they had finished, which usually Starbucks is very quick, but there were quite a few people in there. And so I went up to the counter and was looking for my drink, and I didn't see my name. So I'm just standing nearby, smiling at people. This guy came in, smiled at him. He was right before me. And then this lady came in after me, smiled at her, standing around. And I'm sitting there waiting, and I get my drink. All I need now is just my sandwich. I'm just sitting there. And so while I'm waiting, the one guy who's before me, he got his drink and he heads out. And I was like, cool. So I'm still standing there waiting on this sandwich that's apparently taking forever to make, but that's okay because they were busy. I'm looking at different people, still making eye contact, still smiling, doing my thing, standing there. And then the lady who came after me goes up and gets her stuff. And now I'm like, okay. Now, I'm not saying she didn't order before me because she might have online, but at this point, normally they're pretty good at like getting my drink and my sandwich out. So I'm standing there when all of a sudden it dawns on me. I know. I was like, we didn't order the sandwich today, did we? Because I just had enough money for the drink, and so I did not order the sandwich. So here I am standing there with my drink, sipping on it because I'm just gotta be cool, gotta do something with my hands, right? And I'm sipping on my drink, looking at people smiling, and all of a sudden I realize, oh, I've got everything I need. I did not order a sandwich. Like, why am I still here? So somehow, smoothly, but awkwardly, and with great humility, I walked out. of that Starbucks and just was like, I hope they just think I'm going in my car, and never came back, because I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm standing here waiting on something that is not going to come. Like, I was like, uh-oh, that awkward walk. It's kind of like, how when you're walking in one direction and then realize, oop, I'm supposed to be going the other way, and people are around, and you just feel so awkward being like, there's no reason for me to turn around other than I'm going in the wrong direction. And that's how I felt. I was like, oop, there's no reason for me to leave, but to say that I apparently have everything I need, and I completely forgot that I did not order a sandwich. And thank God I did not go up, because I was tempted to be like, hi, have you guys had an order for Phoebe for a sandwich? That would have been so embarrassing if they're like, we never got anything. And then I would have had to been like, you know what? It's because I didn't order it, and just walked out. So after that, I had another confident moment. I was feeling good again, having another confident day. Things were going well. And was just, I was at my sister's house, and I was leaving my sister's house. It was just a pretty day. That's all it was. And I was just feeling good. And so I go to walk out of her house, her apartment, and there's other people out there, a couple of neighbors and such, and I'm like, hey, smiling, waving, doing my thing, feeling good. And I go to my car, and I'm like, and I get in my car, and tell me why after waving, smiling, feeling good about myself, feeling myself, 2 seconds after pulling out, I hit the curb. Like, this is in front of everybody. Like, I'm just like pulling out, and I pull on top of the curb, like the way where the parking was. Somehow I pulled on top of the curb, and I was like, what? Why? Like, I was feeling good. I was feeling confident. Why did I hit the curb? And so my confidence again went out the window. I was like, okay, well, all right. I tried my best. I felt good. But alas, we have those moments, and then following moments keep us humble. And I guess that just is what it is. But those are my confident stories that are, again, surrounded by humility. But the next thing I wanted to share was, so speaking of waiting, remember I said I was waiting on my sandwich that was not existing? I have another story of waiting that, y'all, I was like, what is this? And that was when I was heading to the airport to pick up my mom. She went to go visit her sister in Georgia and for her birthday, and they did some fun tea stuff, which that was really great. She sent pictures, and it was fun. And so when mom was coming back, she said, my flight will be back around 3:30, and, come pick me up at some point. And we were off for school because of the Derby. And so I assume it's because of the Derby. And so we were off for school. And so I had time to be able to go get her at 3:30. Now, this was also the same night as the revival. And so I knew we had revival that night. I think it's 7. Practice was at 6. And I was like, I've got plenty of time to pick up mom, do what I need to do. Maybe even come back home. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So I get to the airport about 3:40, give her a little time to get off the plane and get her stuff. And okay, first things first, I roll in where the airport is. Airports, you guys, they're always a little bit confusing. And so I go in and I'm like, okay, I think I'm supposed to be at the departures. Yeah, I'm going to the departures. Y'all, no, departures leaving, Phoebe, leaving. But my brain went, no. And so I get to the departures. I'm like, wait a minute, this is where I dropped mom off. So this is not going to be where I pick her up. So I call dad. I'm like, Dad, is there somewhere else I'm supposed to be? And he was like, there should be a sign that says arrivals. I was like, oh, that's the word I'm looking for. So I went back out, drove around the airport. It's kind of circular. And I made it to the arrivals. So I'm sitting there 3:45-ish now. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm just going to wait for mom. Well, she hadn't come out. It was about 3:50. And so I was like, well, let me see where she is. I called her, but there was no answer. I checked on her Find Me, couldn't find it. So I was like, uh-oh, that's a bad sign. She could still be in the air. And then I checked on our app that had, like, she had shared with us, that shared her, like, flights and things. And I looked on there and it said the flight should arrive around 3:54 or 3:57 or something like that. I was like, okay, I just have to wait 10 more minutes. Now, this was a little awkward because, as you know, at the arrivals part, people are coming, they're picking up their people and they're leaving. And I'm like, I can't just stay here forever, right? Like, okay, I'll give it another 10 minutes and then I need to figure out what to do with my life. So I'm staying there and I check it again within a few minutes and all of a sudden it changes and it's like, the flight will now arrive at 4:30. And I was like, uh-oh, that's 40 minutes away, 30 minutes away. Like, I can't just sit here for 30 minutes. Other flights are coming. So I was like, okay, I got to figure out what to do. So I pull out from the arrivals part, and I'm like, I'm going to go to the parking garage. And I'm like, I hope it's free. Maybe it's like cheap, or, really cheap if you only have to stay for an hour or something. I surely won't be that long. And so I go around and I go to the parking, and I choose to park outside. I didn't want to go all the way in the garage. I was like, I just want to stay out here, and so I can be quick to the exit so I can leave. I'm only going to be here for about 30 minutes. So it was $2 for an hour. And I was like, fine. So I pull in and it's fine. I go to park, and why 5 minutes later, the storm is like whoosh, 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 the rain and like hail, like not big hail, but like, I was like, oh no, I should have went in the garage. I mean, my car's like swaying, and I'm like, oh my goodness. But I'm like, okay, these other cars are just sitting here, so I should be fine. But it's nerve-wracking when you're in there. And so I was like, oh my goodness. And I'm trying to like watch videos on my phone, but also being anxious about the storm blowing all around me. And I'm like, okay. Well, then around 4:30, I'm like, okay, let me check and see where it says. All of a sudden, it says 4:55. And I was like, what? 20 more minutes. And I was like, okay. Well, I had pulled into the parking garage at 4:03. And I was like, I have until 5, to pay the $2. Otherwise, I have to pay $2 more. So I sit there for 20 minutes. I check my phone again, and now it's like 5:06. And I'm like, but I was like, minutes. So I'm like, okay. So I go to pull out. The storm stopped, by the way. It was really short. It was like 20, 30 minutes long. And so I go to pull out. I pay my $2 with coins. I went to the lady, like there's all the automated stuff, but I went to the lady, and she was very surprised to see me. I'm like, hi. And I paid with coins, dimes and nickels, because I did not have a lot of quarters. And so I paid my $2, and I'm like, all right. So I drive back around to go back to the arrivals part. And so I go there, but the line is so backed up, like backing onto the highway almost. So I'm part of that line. I'm just chilling. I'm like, well, I'm going to be in this line with everybody else. I mean, this is fine. Its mom probably won't be out right away anyway. I can wait. Well, then, you guys, there was a police car that came behind us. There was probably like 5 other people behind me, and he's stopping at each car saying something. And I was like, oh no, he's coming. He's getting closer. So he made it up to me, and he rolls down his window, and I roll down my window, and he's like, hey, you can't stay here. You need to go ahead and go forward to the cell phone lot. And I was like, what is that? But I'd seen the sign. I just had no idea what it is, but I acted like I knew. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. He's like, yeah, it's just straight ahead. So I was like, okay. And so I drove forward, and I did see the signs. It was still a little confusing because there were signs and arrows. And once I turned into this one area, there were cones and a knocked over cone from the storm. And I was like, what am I going to do? So I went into this kind of tiny looking lot and started to park there and park there for a minute before I realized all the cars that were behind me that were coming from the police telling them to move too were turning into a different lot. And I was like, am I where I'm supposed to be? And so I look around me, and the signs that I thought had said, CP actually said CBP. And I was like, there is no B in the middle of cell phone. I was like, where am I? And I started looking around, and it was like restricted area. And I was like, I need to go. So I managed to turn around. It was kind of tight. Like I said, it was a crazy, weird little lot, but I managed to turn around and go to the area where everybody was. And so I pull into the cell phone lot, which is, I guess, just a place where people wait. I don't know. That's kind of what it seemed like. But it was just a place where people wait and I guess play on their phones. I have no idea why it's called the cell phone lot. No idea at all. But while I was there, I did see this one guy. And he got out of his car, and I was like, he looks like, because, just first impressions, you just look at people and you have your own assumptions of who they are. And I was like, he looks like he's about 38 with 3 kids. Like, that was just the vibe I got from him. And then I thought 38 used to sound kind of older. And I was like, here I am, 30, gonna be 36 this year. And I was like, that's me. So anyway, just chilling there. So around 5 o'clock or so, it's probably like 5:06, maybe 5:10, mom calls and she's like, I'm out. And so I was like, okay. So I drive back around or back up to the front to where they are. And I wanted to kind of just meet her at the end of the sidewalk, but there was the police there, and he's like, sorry, you gotta go all the way around. So there I go again, all the way around. This is time like number 4 or something to pick up my mom, but I was able to get her, and I was able to get her in my car, and we were able to head on home finally. Now, it is now 5:30, like 5:35, And like I mentioned before, so I have practice at 6, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like I don't think I'm going to make it. And so I did let my music minister know that, I'll probably be late for practice. And I felt bad because I was like, I was actually going to be on time. Like, thank God I got ready first, because I did just in case I wasn't going to be ready or didn't have as much time in between. I was like, I don't want to have to rush. I just want to, be able to already be ready. So luckily I was already ready. So all I had to do was drop mom off at home and, get her home and then just go straight to practice from there, which was fine. Like I said, I was hoping to be on time and early, but I was like, for once, but instead I'm late like normal. But anywho, so that was my experience, with trying to pick up my mom, which I do think part of the reason why that was kind of, like, and I don't want to say like a struggle, but one of the things that made it difficult was, I think I mentioned earlier that it is, I don't know if I did or not, but it was Derby weekend. And so, Derby weekend it's very busy where we are. But another thing about Derby weekend is school. So we were off that Friday, but leading up to that Friday, we have Derby events, really just one day of Derby events that Thursday before. And this year we were able to do, my mom usually helps lead up those events in previous years, connecting it to our history and things like that. But this year they were able to do, our kindergarten and first grade did kind of like a Derby themed field day, 6 different kind of rotations. One of them was, let's see, so there was like, most of it was racing. Most of it was racing. They could go on the playground for one rotation and play with chalk, which, pause here, cutest thing, chalk playing. Well, obviously there's the drawing the chalk, but I felt so nostalgic when I saw 2 little girls doing the little tracing each other outline with the chalk. I was like, that is so sweet. I remember that. I remember tracing your friend and then drawing in between. Of course, it's this wobbly, wonky looking chalk line, but alas, you love it as a kid, but it was too cute to see that. So that was one of the rotations. And then there was a race where they had to go on the scooter and scoot all the way down and all the way back. And I remember those scooters too. They had the airplane thing because we have an airplane show. I think that's part of Derby. I think it's part of the festivities. And so they were able to make paper airplanes and see who's went the furthest. So, bringing in measurement. Then there was a race where they had to balance like a glass of Kool-Aid and run all the way there and back, and kind of like a relay race. And then this last one, which I thought was so cute, which if you are someone who has big family events and you get together and do things with all age ranges, this next one, y'all need to do the next time you get together. All you need is like 6 balloons. So what it was they got into teams. The teacher had 6 balloons, so 6 groups with about 4 to 5 kids per group. And it was like a relay. And all they had to do was put the balloon between their knees or their legs and bounce, like jump all the way to the finish line and back. And when I say it was so funny watching these kids like jumping with these balloons, it was too cute to see. It was hilarious. Like you could see the ones who needed to work on coordination, those who struggled with the jumping action. You saw the ones who were really good. There were the ones who tried to run with it between their legs instead of just jumping, and that was hilarious. And then the best was if you had the balloon, of course the balloon moves, right? And so while you're jumping, it gets, for whatever reason, it mostly goes back. And so if you look at the front, you can see maybe like this tiny little bit of balloon. But if you go to the back, there's like all this big balloons in the back. And it's just funny. And then what made it even better was the fact that it was windy that day. So if any balloons like ended up blowing in the wind, the kids went running after it. And it was just too great. So I'm like, that's just how people look when they're doing it is hilarious. I was like, that is something that families need to do. It's super simple. It's easy. And it was so funny to see. Like the kids trying to jump with those balloons. It was hilarious. I loved it. But anywho, so that was kind of like the big thing that we did. Of course, they also did the parade after they had their kind of field day. They did the parade where they showed off the horses that they had made and their hats and their jockey silks and their what are the things called? The parade floats. Yeah, they did that. And it was really, it was cute. It was just cute. Now, as teachers, we also got to kind of participate and celebrate by wearing derby hats. That's kind of like a big thing. Now, or the fascinators. So I didn't have a big derby hat. One year I'm going to do a big derby hat because that would just be fun. But I had this white dress with these red, yellow, green, kind of pink flowers on it. And my fascinator that I created myself was just a headband with 3 flowers that were red, yellow, and green to kind of go with the dress. And so that's what I wore. And literally the exact same outfit as last year too, by the way. Like the exact same. Does it fit a little snugger? Yes, but it's the exact same outfit. And this year though, so I got compliments from 2 5th graders, and I gotta share these. Normally I get compliments, and it's my itty bitties. It's kindergarten and 1st grade. And they say stuff like, I like your dress, I like your shoes, I like your hair. And that's how they compliment me. They're just like, I like your this, I like your that. That's exactly how they sound. Well, this time I got a compliment. One of the 5th graders, she comes up to me. She goes, you look cute, period. I was like, what? No, I was like, well, thank you. It was, y'all, the period. What is that? You look cute, period. Like, just that period. I was like, thank you. I'm so glad that I met your standard of pretty today. But I did appreciate it, though, with the way that they said it. It's so funny. I would call it Gen Z slang, but I don't think they're Gen Z. I think they're Gen Alpha. So that Gen Alpha slang, period. You look so cute. The other thing, so I got another compliment, and this was from a young gentleman. Now, he's a kid that I don't talk to that often. I'll see him in the hallway sometimes, and we might say hi or, good morning or something like that. But he gave me a compliment, and in the way that I guess he could. And he said, I like your dress. Like that, like just like that. I like your dress, like that hard. And I was like, thank you, young man. Thank you for saying you like my dress, even though you had to say it real hard. So my 5th grade compliments, while definitely different than my K1s, I appreciated them and liked them as well. So shout out to my 5th graders. I do appreciate the compliments from you guys too. But yeah, so we had a really good, like that last week. And that last week is actually leading up to testing. Yes. So state testing. Every year, I think the last 14 days, seconds, it's got to be like the something days of school or whatever. And so leading up to it, we try to like pump the kids up and get them all excited and things like that and encourage them. Well, one of the things that we did this year, which we've done in years past, but this year just felt different, was a pep rally. It has been a long time, probably like COVID, since we've had a pep rally with all the kids, like K through 5, all at the same time. We often do like primary, assemblies or intermediate assemblies, but we don't always do them combined. It's just a lot. But we got them all together this time. and it was, y'all, it was wild. It was fun, but it was wild. It was loud up in there. That was the purpose, kind of, not to be that loud, but the purpose was to get excited and to cheer each other on and to cheer on our intermediate students who would be taking their test. And so, so let me tell you, so we had our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade classes. Each class, there's 3 in each grade, did a victory lap around the gym/cafeteria. And while they did their victory lap, the K1 and 2 would, cheer them on and support them and hold up signs and posters that they had made, especially with their buddy classes, to cheer them on and be like, you can do it. You got this. We believe in you, And so, but while they're doing that, they're cheering and kind of screaming, right? So my AP, she did have to address the congregation. No, she did have to address everybody and be like, hey guys, we're here to cheer. We're not here to scream at the top of our lungs because some friends were doing that, but we're here to cheer. Y'all, even after this, these kids were hype. And the epitome, when I saw this, I was like, that's hilarious because this is the epitome of the hypeness they felt. And it came from a kindergartner. Okay, so picture this with me. Picture this or do this with me. All right, so squat down, just squat. So you're not on your knees, you're on your toes, right? And so you're squatting there. That's how he was sitting. He wasn't sitting on his bottom like he's supposed to be. He was not on his knees. He was squatting on his toes. Then cross your arms in front of you with fist. So like making an X almost, okay? All right, so that's he's leaning kind of forward doing this. And we're going to do this slow and then you'll see fast. Then pull your arms backward. So now they're not crossed anymore. And it's almost as if you are, doing a chest thingy. Like you're bringing your arms all the way back to open up the chest, as my Denise Austin, yes, my exercise lady used to say. So you bring your arms all the way back. Now arch your back some. Now you're still on your toes, right? So you're in this kind of animalistic pose, right? Then open your mouth as absolutely wide as it can go, okay? And let out your big old Tarzan scream. Okay? And that would be this kindergartner. Okay, hilarious. I was like, oh my goodness. This was after the don't scream at the top of your lungs conversation. So he's leaning forward, has his arms, then he crosses them and flings his body back, arches his back, and it's just like, in excitement, like he's smiling during this. But he is absolutely wild. And I saw that and was like, that is so funny. Like that characterized like what every kid, I guess, was feeling or really wanted to do. He just did it. He just went ahead and did it. And I was like, oh my goodness, like that's so funny. And I was like, this is something this kid has probably wanted to do all of his 5 or 6 years of life and never had a place or time to do it. And he said, this is it. This assembly where everybody's cheering and being loud and excited. This is the place where I'm going to just let my Tarzan cry rip. And he did. It was hilarious. So much excitement there. I would have to say that I remember testing as a kid, and honestly, I loved it. I loved testing. I loved showing what I knew, which is how we frame it. We're like, it's not about what you don't know, it's about what you do know. So I absolutely loved the whole thing when I was a kid. I liked being able to show what I know. I liked being able to, I loved how quiet the environment was, throughout the whole school. I just like taking tests. Even now, like I'm an adult and I still, for the most part, enjoy taking tests, like showing what I know, what I can do. And so that's been fun. Now, what's been interesting is I am now on the other side of testing as far as I'm not a student or a classroom teacher, so I am an accommodator. And so what that means is I work with students individually to provide accommodations such as someone to read the test to them or to write for them. So these are students who have special needs not special needs as far as like, a special needs program. There are some students who definitely do that, but these are our kids who need assistance with reading and writing because of or other reasons, such as lack of language ability and things like that. Just things that would hinder them from showing what they know, essentially. And so I remember having one when I had a scribe once in 4th grade because I'd broken my arm right before testing. And so they had to get an accommodator for me. And it's just so funny looking back, being like, oh, like I know like the other side of that. I know the teacher side of that. So anyway, so I had a chance to be an accommodator, which means I got to read, which for the most part, you're reading the same thing over and over and over again for each student that you're accommodating, which can be tedious. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this as an opportunity to practice my voice over reading skills. And I was like, and this, like, I don't always get a chance to do this, so I am going to have a blast and I am going to do this. And let me tell you what, I was practicing my trying to sound like a like someone who would read something professional voice. And so I'm actually going to share. Look, okay, I didn't create, but I have to show you guys this, like how I did. Okay. All right. I'm going to try to give you an example of how I read this. I'm going to use this completely made up reading problem, to show you guys what I tried to sound like. Okay. Y'all ready? All right, here we go. Susie and Tom are playing on the playground. Susie decides to throw the ball, but throws it too far. Which sentence supports the idea that Susie is a great athlete? A. Susie threw the ball without knowing her own strength. B. Susie threw the ball, but is worried about Tom not catching it. C. Tom thinks Susie is a great athlete. D. Tom could have caught the ball, but wasn't paying attention. Okay, so that's like my so I'm trying to read like this the whole time, right? Like, just so, especially the which sentence best describes what the author is trying to explain? What paragraph gives you the most detail about the central idea of the message, or whatever, like, so I practice that. So this is how I'm reading to these kids. Like, I'm trying to be as professional, because you're really not supposed to do, honestly, like, voices. You're supposed to sound pretty just straight so you don't lead the kids to an answer. So I am practicing this, and it's so much fun. I'm like, other than the fact that I'm reading the same thing over and over, I really enjoyed trying to sound like a computer would sound if it was reading it to them. Like, it was so much fun. And I'm sure the kids are like, Miss McKay, hey, you don't normally talk like that. But yeah, so that's my practice reading voice. It's not my podcast voice. It's not my regular talking voice, but that is if I had to read an assignment for someone, this is how I would read it. I would try. Okay, I'm done. But yeah, so anyway, that's been this past week. I've been reading a lot. It's been great. The kids have been doing good. We're doing our best we can. We still have not a whole nother week. We have a few more days and plus makeups and things coming up, but the kids really have been trying hard. And so, it's been a good last couple of weeks, I would say, overall with that. Now, so speaking of these last couple of weeks being, surrounded by like testing and things like that, teachers being kind of stressed, because this is supposedly the big test that will show, what the students know. And from this, they decide if students know enough, if teachers taught as well as they could have. Like, a lot of decisions are based off of these scores, whether appropriate or not they are. And so there is some stress there for teachers and things. And so it kind of works out that Teacher Appreciation Week was this past week. And one of the great things that I like to do during Teacher Appreciation Week is find out where I can get free stuff. And this year, previous years, I've had, I remember when Seven Brew first got here, they had free, a free small drink for once a day for every teacher. And best believe they didn't do that again. I was like, I am sure they probably lost quite a bit of money off of that. But this year, my go-to teacher appreciation place has been Dairy Queen. And that's because they did a free small blizzard for teachers if you show your ID. And y'all, I took advantage of that. And actually, look, I don't think they're going to be doing it again, because teachers, they will show up. I was hanging out with my teacher friends this past Friday, and we were talking about Dairy Queen and if we had went. And I was like, yeah, guys. I was like, I went this past, I think it was Tuesday. And I was like, I got me a small blizzard. I said, I got the brownie chocolate extreme chunk blizzard with cookie dough added. And I was like, it was good. Well, then my friend piped in and she's like, we got a blizzard too the other day, and I got the Snickers blizzard. And then my other friend piped in and said, I've gotten 3 blizzards so far. I have gone every day this week. It's like, I got the Snickers blizzard, I got the Reese's blizzard, I got the cookie dough blizzard. So we are definitely taking advantage of that. And it's been good. And y'all, I actually went and I got one today while I was out and about doing errands. So today is Saturday, and I'm recording this a little bit later than I normally record. And that is because, this past week I got a new phone, thanks Hubs, and getting a new phone, the cord thingy is different. It's changed, which let me pause here again and say, Apple, look. Okay, with my phone came a charging thingy, but not the part that plugs into the wall, not the outlet part. Like a cord came, but not the part that you plug into, like the base. And I am like, Apple, if you can charge me over $1,000 for a phone, okay, and change the cord, the input output thingy cord, charging cord for me, and not provide me the charging part, like come on, okay, all right, I'm off my soapbox there, but for real though, so I've had to get new charger thingies. Well, for today's episode, this morning I got up at like 10 something, and I realized as I was going through my day, like I've got things that I'm gonna need to do today. I was, preparing for Mother's Day tomorrow. I was like, I gotta go to the store to get some food. I gotta go to Lowe's to pick up her ferns because that is Mother's Day, is what you do. I was like, I've gotta go pick up things. There's just things I gotta do. And as I was going through it, I was like, I gotta make sure I record sometime today. And then I thought about it. I was like, I record using this, it's like a plug that plugs into like a headphone jack, and then it plugs into my phone. Well, I realized that my old one, it doesn't fit in my new phone. And I was like, are you serious? So I was like, what do I do? I guess I can order it now, like off Amazon, and maybe record in a couple of days when it can get here. Like hopefully it can get here soon. So I looked on Amazon, and you guys, I saw same day between 2 and 6 p.m. you can get I could get my cord thingy, my little adapter thing, I guess we can call it. And I was like, okay. But of course you had to spend $25, and that was just $10. So of course I go in there, I'm like, well, give me my new charger things. Let me go ahead and get all my stuff. And y'all, I got right at like $25 and like 30 something cents. And I ordered that like this morning. And so I was like, hopefully it will come in, later today. So let me go ahead to my errands, which I got to tell y'all about my errands and what has happened there. But I was like, let me go ahead and do, go to my errands, go to my Lowe's, go to my Walgreens, go to the UPS store, just a lot to do. And then hopefully I will get, what I need to be able to record later today. Y'all tell me why Amazon came through. Tell me why Amazon came through. Okay, Apple learned something. So I got home around 3, and at like 3:30, I got the notification that my things had been delivered. And I was like, what? You're here? And I checked, and it is. And therefore, you guys, I am able to be here and record. Not too late, not waiting for Sunday and Monday, because that was my concern, is I'd have to record like, on Sunday or Monday and be kind of stressed about getting it in time and editing and all of that stuff. But hey, Amazon came through. Amazon came in clutch. And I was like, thank you, Amazon. So shout out to them. For being able to help me to do that and to give me what I needed. So anyway, so while I was out and about today, I said all that to say that I did get me another blizzard. This is my second one that was still just as good. It was almost as good as before. The one Tuesday was much better. This one, it wasn't bad. But you guys know, have you ever gotten a blizzard where sometimes it's creamy, which is good, and then sometimes it's a little gritty? Like this one was a little bit gritty, and it wasn't terrible by any means, but I was like, what is this? So there was that. And I'm the one where, once I eat all the bits out of it, like the cookie dough, the brownie bites, I just leave the rest. I leave the ice cream part and just throw that away. It gets me through like 75% of my blizzard. But yeah, so anyway, so it was still good overall. Let me know what kind of blizzards you guys get. I feel like people get the same. When I was talking to my teacher friends, other than the one who got like one every day and changed the flavor, my other friends were like, we pretty much just get the same thing every time, because if we don't get that, we get let down. And I totally agree. Like, I like what I like. And so it's really hard to change. Though if you're going to try something new, it'd probably be when you get it for free. But anyway, so enjoyed my blizzard today while I was out and about running my errands and doing all that stuff. But let's kind of jump into some of the random things that have just happened in the last couple of weeks. One is, while I was driving out and about, okay, because you guys notice I know that I see things, notice things while I'm driving. I honestly could have like a car podcast, like let's go, with how much I think while I'm in the car if I'm not listening to something else. And I noticed 2 people who were riding a bike. They both had their own bikes. And I was thinking like, wow, like okay, they didn't really look like people who would be bike riders, just from perception and appearance. They just didn't seem like they would be people on bikes. And I was like, wow, they must really either care about their health or care about the environment, or they're just biking. And then I looked closer, and y'all tell me why. Both of them had a cigarette in their hand. I was like, no, wait a minute. That doesn't go together. You can't be riding a bike and smoking a cigarette at the same time, but they were. I was like, I guess it saves them from having, cigarette smoke smell in their car. But I was kind of like, so maybe not quite caring about their health as much or the environment. I don't know. Not trying to judge, but definitely saying I was not expecting to see the bicycle and the cigarette in hand. But that was just something that I noticed. The other thing is I was going to ask you guys, does anybody else talk to the animals that they're about to hit in their car? Y'all, I don't know what it is, but these last couple weeks, the animals have been out and about again. I don't know if it's just spring fever and they're just feeling it, but these squirrels have been all over these roads and getting hit right and left. And I talked to every single one. I'm like, oh, please get out of my way. Can you please not hit my car? Can you run faster? No, don't come back. Oh, no, That's kind of where I am. And I was like, am I the only one who talks to animals, like just while they're out and about, being like, please don't hit my car? Especially y'all, it really does. Like my little tummy clenches up and I'm like, when I think I'm about to hit something. But yeah, so that's just something that I noticed that I thought I would throw out there. But the next thing that I wanted to share is technology, my experiences with technology lately, and specifically ChatGPT. Okay, let me tell y'all about that. Now, I'm not really into the whole AI thing. I don't think much about it. I don't have much of an opinion on it, one way or the other. I do see it obviously in things, but the other day I was like, okay, let me check out ChatGPT because I think I had seen maybe like an ad for it or something, or it just came up and it was like, create an image in ChatGPT. And I had seen other people who had done some images and things, and I didn't want to do one like, where I give them a picture of me and they do something with it, even though those do look pretty cool. I'm not I'm not really into like the ChatGPT AI concerns and conspiracies, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want to do all that. But anyway, so I was like, let me download it and just kind of create some images. And so I downloaded it. So do you guys remember, I don't know if depending how much you've listened, but there was an episode where I talked about just something that I pictured. And it was related to the song Joy in the Morning. And I had mentioned how I felt like it was a girl, like, me, going through like a battle or whatever and coming out victorious, but very weak and broken and hurt and trying to make it to the horizon and da-da-da-da-da. So I put in ChatGPT. I was like, okay, ChatGPT. I was like, create me an image of I think I just started with a girl who, on a battlefield, who is hurt but triumphant, I think is what I wrote. And so they did this girl, beautiful girl. She had a warrior outfit on, like she had armor, brown hair, smooth face, but with like blood on it, with a sword, and then on a battlefield. And I was like, ooh, okay. But I want her to be a little more like me. So I said, change her to a black person and zoom out a little bit because it was really up close. So they zoomed it out. They changed it to a black chick. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Now I'm starting to feel more connected. And then I was like, okay. And then I said, ChatGPT, can you put her in a dress for me? Because, that's what I wear. And so they did. So they put her in like this, not medieval type dress, but this kind of basic dress. But she still had her sword and she still had her scars and blood. And there was still battlefield behind her, and she then was just kind of staring. And then I said, okay, ChatGPT, can you make her look a little more sad? And so then they gave her a sad face, and I was like, that's a little too sad. So I said, take that back. And then I said, okay, can you pretty her up a little bit? Then they made her too pretty. I said, no, take it back. And then I said, okay, great. Okay. I said, now can you have her kind of looking off into the horizon? So I did. And I said, oh, and can you add more trees and a horizon? And so it did. And then it was like, you've run out of your free, image creations for the day. Wait until tomorrow. And I was like, okay. But you guys, it did create this image. It was fun. It was so much fun. And I don't know how many commands I gave it. Maybe like 6 or 7 or something. I'm not sure. I'd have to look to see how many are allowed. but it was cool. Like it just created from scratch. And was it exactly like I pictured in my head? Of course not. But was it kind of cool to and see how it was going to be shaped and created and things like that? Like, I don't know, like that, y'all, that could be fun. That like, and then like I was tempted, y'all know, because when it's late at night, I was like, maybe I can buy a subscription to this and just have fun with it. But I didn't. I did not. I resisted, which y'all know at 11 p.m. I do not resist well, but I did resist. And I was like, that was pretty cool. And I haven't tried the commands as far as like, I haven't asked questions or had it do any prompts. So far, I just created that one image and I did save it on my phone and was like, this is pretty nifty. I kind of like it. But I kind of want to explore it more now. And now I don't feel tech savvy, but I do feel like a little more interested in what this Chat GPT can do and like what it's used for. And I mean, I don't know, like I say what it's used for, more like just to kind of help me out. I kind of want to ask it questions. I'm going to ask it questions about like the podcast or, like what can I do here or what can I do there? And I'm curious to kind of see what it has to say. And I want to create more images. So I want to think about like what other images I want and see what it comes up with. Anyway, so I'm throwing that out there too. If you feel like doing something fun, get on download a Chat GPT and like create some stuff and see what you can come up with. But yeah, so that was pretty fun and I appreciated that. Now, let me tell you guys about today. So like I said, I woke up and was going through like, okay, these are the things that I need to do today. Mother's Day's tomorrow. Got to make sure I get some last minute things for Mother's Day. And I was able to, for the most part, come up with kind of, all right, we're going to go here. Well, Mother's Day is passed. So we're going to go to Lowe's, get mom her ferns that she gets every year, make sure we get her gift card, make sure we get her card, all these things. And so I was like, okay, I got time to waste, time to spend, things to do before my package comes from Amazon. So I was like, okay, well, let's go. Let's head out. So I went to the UPS store to return some stuff, which Amazon returns. Again, shout out to Amazon because they are so easy. Return that really quick and easy. And it was my Apple Watch band, which I also got a new Apple Watch this week. Shout out to my husband for all these upgraded things. Yes, I got a new Apple Watch band. I am having to like replace some things, but for the most part, it's been great. I love having all this new stuff. But anyway, and so I, went to the UPS store, went to Walgreens, picked up some mints. That went pretty smooth. Sometimes our Walgreens is so long, but that went pretty smooth. And then I went to Lowe's. Okay, so first off, Lowe's, the day before Mother's Day, the garden section is so busy. It was packed. It was so funny because I was coming in and this lady was coming out. She's like, it's a madhouse in there, and it wasn't too bad, but there were a lot of bodies and a lot of people. And then so I was looking for the ferns. I was looking for some big ferns that we get mom every year. And I know they're usually hidden, but I know they're usually there. And so I was trying to find them. I was going around. I couldn't find them. I still had a couple more places I was going to look, but I was searching. And I went inside just to kind of look and see if they were in there. And walking inside, it was like so dead. There was like hardly anybody inside. I walked all the way down to like the lumber aisle, which made me feel cool because I was like, oh, this is where people go who know how to build stuff. And I was walking up and down the aisle thinking like, I wish I knew how to build stuff. But I also don't like walking the wood aisle because the smell of wood makes me feel like I have sawdust in my nose. And I know that's probably not true, but I'm like, oh no, I'm inhaling sawdust and wood chips and it's going to mess with my breathing. And so it was very... I was like, okay, like this is cool, but at the same time, I gotta go. But I did like walking up and down that aisle and feeling cool and seeing the different sizes. I know, y'all, weird things hit differently at different times. I am sure I've walked up and down the wood aisle at any other time and haven't thought twice about it. But this time I did. And that could be because I do plan to work on putting together our prayer room. We have a prayer room downstairs, but I've been meaning to get it together and I just haven't. And so I've been thinking about it. So I think the whole aspect of, I'm not going to build anything, no, but the aspect of like home reno and things like that has been on my mind lately. So just walking down the lumber aisle was pretty cool and looking at all the wood and stuff. But I went back outside looking for my ferns and everything. And I want to say, so while I was out there, most of the people, there were couples, tons of couples. There were tons of older people. And I don't know what it is, if just older people are now on my radar. And so I see them everywhere and interact with them. And I mean, not like older people like 50s and 60s. I'm talking like 60s, 70s, and 80s. Like these are some old people. And like maybe it's just, like I said, they're on my radar now, especially after like my doctor's appointment and my doctor's office and things. I'm seeing these older people just walking up and down the aisle doing their thing. And y'all, this one older guy. Okay, I gotta tell you about two older guys and how different they are. The first one is the one that happened at Lowe's. And I'm walking down the aisle and it's crowded. And we're both about to turn into the aisle. And I step back and then he goes, please. And I was like, oh my, yes, I will walk before you. Like just that gentle little please. I mean, he's this white-haired old guy, like 70 something. And I was like, such a gentlemanly, like, just please, like, that's the only word, please, like, go ahead of me and, do me the honor of going ahead. Like, that's what it felt like. I was like, oh, why, thank you. Like, let's go back to those days where the men were like, please, go ahead. Yes, no problem, But I thought that was cool. It had been, I mean, I don't know if I've ever had anyone tell me, please, as far as like, go ahead, like you go ahead. Normally they'll say, oh yeah, no, go ahead. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Like they'll say that, but they won't say like, please go ahead. So I was like, that was polite. Like that was old school. Like that felt cool. And that was nice. And then I saw this other older guy who had the ferns that I was looking for. And I walked past him the first time, was like, okay, those are the ferns I want, but I'm not going to say anything. Well, after I couldn't find the ferns again, I found them again. And I walked up to him. I was like, hey, I said, I'm so sorry to be this person, but could you tell me where you got the big ferns from? And he told me where it was. I was like, thank you so much. Very friendly. And so I walked, around, got the ferns and was able to get that for my mom and had a, pretty good experience at Lowe's. Now, the hack to that is when you go there, don't wait outside to buy, even though you've got plants, just go inside, because inside there were so many lanes that were open and there were like the self-checkouts and all of that stuff. Whereas outside there was like this really long line that went like pretty far and people are buying like tons of stuff. And I was like, I don't got time for that. So I went in, bought my stuff and was out before that line even moved. So life hack there. If you're at Lowe's, don't buy your stuff from the garden section. If there's a lot of people, just go ahead inside. It's no big deal. And so I did that, and that was pretty cool, and was able to get mom her ferns. So hopefully she'll enjoy those. I know she will. It's like a staple. I don't know what it is about ferns and mothers, but I got her ferns every year, and so here we go. That was good to go. So that was Lowe's with that guy. Now let's talk about Kroger, okay? So after I went to Lowe's, I'm like, one more stop before I head home and get ready for the podcast. I decided to stop at Kroger to get some things for dinner, pick up some dessert, got me a cookie brownie cake. And I was like, okay, let me just, jump in here real quick. So I go in there and for the most part, feeling good, feeling confident, having one of them good, confident, breezy days where you just feel good on the outside, inside, outside, you're just feeling great. So I'm going in there and there's this guy, this old man again, and he's probably like 80-year-old, like he's up there. And and I walk past him. I start to walk past him and he stops me and he's like, hey, and he's like mumbling. He's like, and he gives me like an okay sign and like a thumbs up sign and then like a fist pump sign. And he's like, beautiful, you woman, beautiful. And I was like, well, thank you. I think he's complimenting me. I could barely understand what he was. He said other stuff, but I really couldn't tell. But I was like, thank you. Like, I appreciate that. And I said, thank you. And I kept going, right? So I'm walking down the aisle, being like, oh, look, the old guy. I think he said I was beautiful. I don't know what he said. He said something, but he smiled. So that's good enough. Oh, this is great. So I'm walking down my aisle. Y'all, tell me why 3 aisles later, this old man again, I see him again, right? And he came out of nowhere and he stops me again and does the exact same thing. So I was thinking like, maybe you don't quite remember, but he does the exact same thing, except this time he wants to give me a fist bump. And I was like, I can do that. I'll fist bump the guy. Like, why not? I'll be nice, even though I feel like he might be a little, not quite remembering everything. So I gave him a fist bump. And then after I fist bumped him, he grabs my hand and I was like, uh-oh. He grabs my hand with both his hands and pulls it to his little heart and taps his heart and says something. And I was like, yeah, like y'all, I was like, yeah, I have no idea. He's saying stuff. I have no idea. And he's just smiling and nodding and tapping my hand to his heart. And I was like, okay, this is the last time I fist bump a stranger. But anyway, so I was like, yeah, And then, so he lets go of my hand and I was like, And then he asked me what my name is. He's like, what is your name? And I was like, it's Phoebe, Phoebe. I was like, yeah. And he says something else. And I was like, yeah. And then he goes, where are you from? I was like, from here, and I said, because I guess I was just being nice. I said, well, where are you from? And he's like, Russia. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm glad you're from Russia. And then he says something like in Russian. And I was like, no. And I shook my head. And then he said something else. And I was like, no. And then he's like, okay. And he's like, something, something, something. And then he goes to fist bump again. And y'all, you would have thought I learned my lesson, but I didn't, because guess who just fist bumped him right back? So I fist bumped him again. And guess who grabbed my hand again with two hands? This guy did. So he grabs my hand with both his hands again and tugs it to his heart, pulls my little arm close to his heart and tugs it to his heart and says something else and then says something else. And then I'm like, yeah. And then he walks away. And I was like, okay. Sweet old guy. Like, it wasn't terrible by any means. It was a little awkward, a little weird. I'll take the compliment for what it was. But it was, y'all. Okay, so let me tell you where my brain was. So lately, I've been, like literally in the last week or so, I've been kind of listening to some kind of true crime type stuff. I can't because I've only been listening to a couple of things like this week. And y'all, if I listen to true crime, like I start seeing it everywhere. Cause I was like, I said, because earlier, the first encounter, I thought maybe he might have been, had some type of, he was an immigrant of some kind, because there were two other gentlemen that were with him that he wasn't really beside. They were talking to themselves and they seemed to be talking in a different language. And so the second time around, I was like, oh my. And I was like, oh my goodness, what if they want to kidnap me, like take me somewhere. Yeah, because I've been listening to true crime, So I'm like, oh no. So I'm like keeping my eye out now. I'm like, okay, where are the guys at? Where's this old guy at? Like, what is going on? Nothing happened, y'all. I never saw him again. But it was interesting. I was like, okay, all right. Like my encounter. And the only regret I have is I wish I would have said "Das Vidanya," which I think is goodbye in Russian, because that's the only Russian I know. And I know that because of Anastasia. If you guys remember that, there was a movie way back in the day about, Anastasia. And so she says, Das Vidanya, which I think means goodbye. And I would have liked to do that for him, to be like, hey, I know a little bit of Russian. Because he seemed like a nice guy. Like nice old man, So I think it would have been cool if I would have spoke Russian to him. I think he would have really liked it. But I didn't think of it in time. And the only thing I would have said is goodbye. Das Vidanya, which was probably the right thing to say anyway. All right. But okay. So I want to wrap up with two more things. I got my music segment, which is really fast. And then I wanted to do this. And this came from my husband and us being, okay, so you guys know how I listen to the Bible app in the morning, right? And so while I listen, occasionally, this is throughout the year sometimes, my husband will be like, oh, you must be listening to Matthew, or you are listening to Exodus, or you are listening to Revelation or something like that. And I'm like, that is so cool. So now I'm like, okay, I'm going to test you guys out there. Feel free to play along. Okay. One day I'm going to do that. I think I'm gonna get down on the podcast and do this with him. But I'm going to read a couple of scriptures, and I want you to see if you can guess what book of the Bible it is from, okay? I'll read a scripture or a passage, and then I'll pause a minute, and then I will tell you if it's old or new. Those are my hints. And then I'll narrow it down to maybe a couple of books and see if you can figure it out, and then I'll tell you the answer, okay? So this is an interactive one for you to see just how much you might know about the Bible. And let's do I was going to say 4 passages, but let's do 5 to have a tiebreaker where you either got most of them correct or most of them not correct. So here we go. Okay. We are going to start right here. Okay. I'm just picking a random one. Okay. All right, here we go. Oh, this is so funny. Look, I was about to say where it was from. Here is the passage of scripture. And it shall be when he lieth down that thou shalt mark the place where he shall lie, and thou shalt go in and uncover his feet, and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. Okay, that's the end. That was a scripture. Where do you think, what book of the Bible did it come from? All right, so my hint for you, pause it if you don't want to, I'm going to just go right into it. My hint for you, it is in the Old Testament. Okay, that's the hint. And then my other hint for you is that it is either in the book of Joshua, Judges, Ruth, or Esther. Okay, if you said it is the book of Ruth, then you are absolutely correct. It is Ruth chapter 3, and let's see, verse 4. And yeah, so this is when Naomi is telling Ruth what she needs to do for Boaz. Okay, next one. You guys ready? Here we go. All right. Ooh, this one might be tricky. Here we go. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. Y'all, that's hard. Look, I have the book in my hand, and I'm still like, ooh, would I have known where this came from? Because I've got a few clues of where I think it could come from, but I don't know that I would know exactly where it came from. All right, I'll give you a hint. Old Testament, okay? Old Testament again. It is either Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, or Song of Solomon. We'll just keep it right there. We'll have our poetic books right there. All right. If you said Ecclesiastes, then give yourself a point because it is Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 8. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient spirit is better than the proud in spirit. That's pretty cool. I didn't even think about that. I mean, it's like I know that scripture, but I didn't realize it was in Ecclesiastes. All right, here we go. On to the next. Ooh. Okay. And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. I do think there's some hints there thinking about the name Christ Jesus. Okay, so if you got Jesus, more than likely we're thinking the New Testament. Okay, so it is New Testament. And so my hints for you, it is going to be either, let's say, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, or Colossians. And if you said Philippians, then you are absolutely correct. It is Philippians 4:7. And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Great scripture. Okay. All right. You guys ready? Okay. We're going to do two more. I hope this is fun for you because this is fun for me. I'm going to do this with my husband. Okay. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. All right. So you're thinking old or new. We are in the new. Okay. And we are thinking it is either going to be Matthew, Romans, Hebrews, or Revelation. If you said Revelation, kiss your brain. That's what I tell my kids. I tell them, kiss your brain because it's working for you. It is Revelation 21:4. And I do love that scripture. That's one that I have highlighted. It's one that encouraged me a lot right after, the passing of my daughter. So that was a great one for me. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So last one. In the beginning. I could stop there and you'd be like, oh, I think I know it. You might know it. We'll have to see. In the beginning, let me finish, was the Word. And the Word was with God. And the Word was God. Okay. So when you hear in the beginning, you might be thinking Old Testament, but this is actually the New Testament. And it's either going to be Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. And if you said John, go ahead and pat yourself in the back because it is John 1 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So, yeah, anyway, so that was my quick little game with you guys. You have to tell me how you did, how many you got right out of the 5. So I thought that was fun. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to do it with my dad because he would probably be great at this. I think another version would be like obscure Bible stories, the ones that you just don't hear that often. Like, who are the characters? I love that. I love Bible trivia. It's fun. But anyway, you guys, so I'm going to wrap up here. The last thing I want to say is I did want to throw out my song segment. So the songs that have been, there's 3 songs, okay? 3 songs that I've been listening to constantly. One of them, I do believe, was a song segment like 2 years ago, maybe last year. And that is Hard Year by Brandon Lake. You guys know my boy. I listen to him a lot. Hard Year. If you have had a hard year, go listen to that song, Hard Year, Brandon Lake. Okay? Because it definitely helps you, what's the word I'm looking for? It basically, it recognizes how you feel, right? Of, had a hard year, but they're still good. The sun's still shining, so they're still good in it. So I really like that. Like I said, I think it was a song segment before, but it's making a comeback. The other 2 songs that I want to throw out there, one that I've just been listening to like crazy is called What a God, SEU Worship, extended version. Listen to that and just be like, what a God, what a God. I mean, it's God. It's the highest. Like, just go listen to it. It's good. The first 3 minutes, you're kind of like, okay, then let it roll. It's so good. Anyway, and then the last song I want to throw out there is I haven't been actively listening to it, but I've heard it here and there in the last couple of months, and when I hear it, it speaks to me. And that is the old song, Great is Thy Faithfulness. And it's just been hitting home. I've just been needing it. And especially there's the verses, like they've just been hitting home. Great is thy faithfulness. And I've listened to 5 different versions. There's one version I like, but I don't know who sings it. I know I should have got that for you guys before today. But almost every version I hear is impactful because it's the lyrics, it's the words that get you, right? And so that is my other song segment. So I couldn't pick one. Those are just the 3 that I've been jamming out to lately. And this is a special shout out to a friend of mine. And the last 30 seconds of the song, what is it? It's by Sons of Sunday. I can't think of what the song is, but it's the last 30 seconds of it. I think it's called I Looked Up. Anyway, so the last 30 seconds of I Looked Up, the whole song is fine, I'm sure, but those last 30 seconds, I was like, ooh, I like that. It's just a hum. I think it's my boy B. Lake humming, but it's a hum, and I really like it, and it reminds me of another song that's great, which is the song Never Lost by Elevation. Yeah, it's Never Lost, and that when you can do all things but fail, because you never lost a battle, right? But the end of that is like, but he hums it, and it's so pretty, much prettier than that. But anyway, so yeah, go ahead and listen to those songs. Enjoy them. I'm sure they will speak to you if you let them. And I want to just end here by saying Happy Mother's Day. I hope you had a great one. I believe mine will be well. My husband's already been kind of spoiling me this week with, I think, the phones and stuff, and we're just because, but he did get me 2 sets of bouquets of flowers, so that was sweet of him. But anyway, so he's been taking care of me this week. And so happy Mother's Day to you all. And then, of course, a special shout out to my ma. Happy Mother's Day, Ma. Love you tons. Thank you for being there always. This was a year that I definitely needed my mom, and she was there every step of the way. In fact, one of my pictures that I look on fondly of this year, somewhat fondly, bittersweet, is a picture when I was in the hospital and I'm laying in the bed and my mom is laying next to me. Her head is on the armrest thing of the hospital bed. And it's just, and her eyes are closed, like she's sleeping. I think she might have been sleeping. She might have been resting. She might have been praying. I don't know what she was doing, but it just shows that she was right there by my side. And so thank you, Ma. I love you bunches. And yeah, so happy Mother's Day to all. Thank you all so much for listening and have a great next couple of weeks.